Alright, so this time, instead of just talking about video games that are coming in next year, 2023, I'm going to be adding and beyond because I usually sort of cover the far future stuff in E3, but E3 this year wasn't particularly good. There wasn't really too much. But the Video Game Awards have come around, and now we got a fair few stuff, so we're putting it all in here. 23 and beyond. But I will specify when a game is not coming out or confirmed to come out in 2023. This should be some good upcoming years. Anyway, so let's get started with the repeats from last year that I won't go too far into because there's not too much new information on them. There are some repeats I will go into because there's a lot more info now. Star Trek Resurgence, which is like an interesting choice and action game that looks to, really dig in what could be good for a Star Trek game, but it looks like it's run by a somewhat inexperienced team, so cautiously optimistic. Next we have Replaced. Unfortunately, this was delayed because the developers are based in Ukraine, and so we all know the bad stuff happening there. So that's very unfortunate, but lucky for them, it seems like they are supposed to be able to get replaced out next year. It looks like a good, interesting sci-fi world with some intense melee combat. It looks relatively good. Next we got the Texas Chainsaw asymmetrical horror game published by Gun Media, who published the Friday the 13th. It could be relatively good, but we know pretty much how items are kind of similar. And so, yeah, this should be good. Next we have the Alice Trials. So it looks like a decent stealth co-op thing with a bit of horror theming. Should be relatively good. And finally, we had the Suicide Squad, which is still very hyped for, but we haven't got too much new information. We found out that Kevin Conroy's last Arkhamverse performance will be here, which is good to know, but we did kind of already figure that. Anyway, so that should be good. Alright, so we're starting off with the Dead Space Remake, which is a repeat, but we do know quite a bit more from last time. We've seen gameplay. It looks relatively good. It's hopefully going to recapture the magic of the original. But add hopefully some more stuff. I'm not sure if I will play this right away because I'm not sure how much they're adding, and I don't typically replay games. But maybe, hopefully, it's something good for anyone who hasn't played Dead Space and wants to get into Dead Space, because Dead Space is a good game, people should be into it. Next we have Tron Identity, which is marked as coming soon, which, of course, you'd think it'd be 2023, but who knows. It's a Tron game, which I've mentioned in my classic movies that should get a game. I really like Tron and think that glad to see it getting a game. I'm a little disappointed that it seems to be like a detective choice game. But it's still, good chance to see the world of Tron. And hopefully it'll be good. Next we have Robocop Rogue City. And we've seen some gameplay, and it actually looked fairly good. For considering how, this game kind of seems a little low budget. But it looks really fun. You can throw dumpsters at people. It looks a little Deus Ex-ish. It looks pretty good, And they're good. Looks like they're getting the Robocop feel down. Hopefully good. Next to Transformers Reactivate, which is a sort of not confirmed but suspected 2023 release. Yeah, I really like the Transformers War for Cybertron, and Fall of Cybertron. Those are real fun games, and I'm really excited to see more Transformers stuff. Although I don't know if it'll live up to those games. First person is kind of interesting. It looks like they actually have human characters, which even the ones based off the movies didn't really have human characters. So maybe that'll be interesting. I read something it's supposed to be like co-op. That's not always, what you're looking for, but maybe it'll be good. Next we had the Judas game, which is called Juice because like this lady you play as screwed over the space station with some sort of hostile robots or something. Anyway, but it's made by the creators of Bioshock, which there's a couple things on that. I didn't really like Bioshock Infinite that much. Well, it was decent, but nowhere near as good as Bioshock 1. There's had some interesting ideas like the skyhook, but they did things like limit the weapons to only 2 weapons. And the story was very trying to feel more complicated than it actually was. Anyway, but this looks pretty decent. That Bioshock gameplay, shooting robots and such. And they got like some sort of AI partners. And of course, the real reason to play this game is there's some sort of rideable, maybe just fast travel, but rideable giant robot dog. Next, we had the Captain America and Black Panther game where they're in World War II. And like that's it doesn't even have a title, so there's obviously no release date. This looks potentially pretty good. It's supposed to have something to do with one of the people who worked on Uncharted, sort of new studio. Anyway, the general concept's really good. There's 2 really good characters and a unique setting. And they also seems like there's part with 2 other sort of more normal perspective characters. Where you got this lady who's a spy and guy who's a regular soldier, not like a super soldier. So that should be pretty interesting. There's a lot of potential there. Next we have AC Mirage and the other upcoming AC games. Starting off with AC Mirage. It's sort of promising to get AC back to basics. Sort of setting it setting similar to AC1. And it's supposed to not be an RPG, which that's potentially the thing that I like the most. I liked Origins, but Odyssey I didn't like too much. It's probably my least favorite AC game. And it's just started Valhalla, and that doesn't look promising. So I'd really like to get back to regular AC. So yeah, it's potentially really good if that promise holds out. As for the other 2, they have Codename Red and Codename Hex, which one of them they're both supposed to be RPGs, and that's maybe even though they're RPGs, they'll be better. Get more on track, more to AC Odyssey, but of course, Codename Red is supposed to be finally going to Japan, like many people wanted. Yeah, and so that should be good. I would have rather, that one not be an RPG, but yeah, so that's potentially really good. And Hex seems, I think, is a 1800s, and having to do with a southern bogs, sort of Louisiana, and seeming like some sort of voodoo type stuff, maybe, or something. Considering that same text. I don't know. But anyway, and who knows with that, Maybe I'll be good. Next we have Redfall. Redfall's an Arcane game, and I really like all the Arcane games. But actually, when I saw the gameplay at E3, I was a little disappointed. I don't know, I just didn't. It looked good, but it didn't look like Arcane good. I didn't see like these like special flair. It looked like they didn't really show anything too impressive, like with the powers or stuff that sort of stuff they or level design that's usually in Arcane games. Maybe it was just a bad trailer, but Arcane has a really good rep, so hopefully it'll be good. Next we have a bit of a surprise to me, Remnant 2, which Remnant is actually like Remnant from the Ashes was actually a sequel to like a VR game, which got a re-release as Remnant something else. But so technically this be like Remnant 3, but whatever. Anyway, so Remnant 2 looks really good. I really like the first one. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it's pretty original. Like Dark Souls meets Destiny. That's really good. It has a really cool sci-fi world. And I really like the world building, and the gameplay has a really good and also pretty unique feel. The way they combine the two genres, it works really well. I do have a review of Remnant from the Ashes if you want to check that out. Anyway, and in this game, they looks like something really cool. So they're gonna have a Bloodborne-esque world. Bloodborne is at the very least my second favorite Souls game. Elden Ring, I am quite excited why I like it more than Elden Ring. It's definitely got the best visuals, and so that's good to pull from. But also like one of the weaker points of Remnant was the bosses. It seemed like they didn't quite know where to go with a shooter boss that's like a Dark Souls boss. But it's hard to tell from a commercial. But it did look like they had some good bosses lined up. They looked like a bit more like the better bosses in Remnant 1. This I'm really excited for. It's a great surprise. It looks good. Next we have Starfield. This is another repeat, but there's some new stuff. You get to see some actual gameplay. It's about what was expected. With a sort of Skyrim meets No Man's Sky, and all that potential is really good. But they could always fall flat. I do think people are going to be disappointed in this game no matter what, but because people are really disliking Bethesda, and there's a lot of hype around this game, so that's a good recipe for disappointment. But I think it does have potential to be a pretty good game. Next we have the RE4 remake in a couple months, but this looks really good. I have played RE4. I need to put out. I'm gonna have a plan to do a lot of RE reviews all at once. I'll do my review of the original with all that. Anyway, and so yeah, this does look like it's doing the same thing as the RE2 remake of like upgrading what was great about the original and upgrading the visuals and smoothing out the gameplay that's more modern. But it's not getting rid of core features. Instead of like a prompt for doing the big kicks and the suplexes. Although I don't think we saw any suplex, but we did see the kick anyway. It does look really good, and hopefully, we get another RE2 remake of just really nailing what a remake could be. And finally, we have Jedi Survivor, which is technically a repeat, but last time I was only theorizing that it might be in 2023, but now we know it's coming out in March, and I had a full gameplay trailer that looks really, really good, and I also made a predictions video. Sorry about sounding like I'm trying to promote a whole bunch of my videos, but I did get a couple things right. It looks really good. Got an interesting story lined up where it looks like we're mostly on like one planet, and we're going around this interesting like desert town, and got bounty hunters, and we got some cool villains, we got some cool heroes. It looks like we're stepping things up really well. They had a lot of fun new gameplay things. It looks like taming animals, or the grappling hook, or we got the cross guard saber, and we can dual wield lightsabers, which I'm hoping it's sort of like as I predicted in the video, like sort of a Ghost of Tsushima thing, where it's all about the stance switching for different enemies. But either way, it looks really good. And of course, one of my favorite things was they bringing back some battle droids. It's sort of like that episode of Rebels where they find these little battle droids. It seems like something like that, which that's really cool. Like, battle droids are like a really fun enemy. The Star Wars or like Roger Roger. Anyway, it's like really great dopey little droids. Anyway, but overall, really excited about Jedi Survivor. Can't wait. So that's about it for 2023. Hopefully, all these delays are leading up to going from a not so great 2022 to a potentially really great 2023. And let's hope that it turns out really good. Thank you to anyone who likes, comments, or subscribes. That's it.